I've no time for side adventures, you say. Destiny pulls me towards the temple of eternal love. By Bonder's belt, destiny must want you dead then, says Gulmer in a growl. The devils and demons battle one another near that cursed place. You don't want to get into the middle of that war. The only way you'll get there is underground. Help us, we help you, says Horam. Aid us and we'll get you into the underground city and take you all the way to the cursed horror if that is what you insist on, says Thelmer. I know about the underground city, you say, raising your chin. I found it hunting rats, I'll use it myself. But do you know how to get into it without going out there, says Thelmer, pointing into the distance beyond the wall. Wouldn't know which direction's what anyways, said Horam. That's right, says Thelma with a smile. No one knows direction under the earth like dwarves. I'm in a hurry, you say. So are we, said Thelmer. Every minute we stand here lip flapping is a minute of goblin digging. Sigh, very well, I give you an hour. Thelma smiles behind his beard and nods to Horam. Horam unslings his backpack. Korek was right about not wanting a lantern lugger among us. We dwarves don't use torches. We can't take you stumbling about blind, says Thelmer. Horam pulls out a small dark vial and shoves it into your hand. Drip it into your eyes. Your hem and maw, some at the prospect of putting some unknown substance into your eyes. If they assure you that you will thank them for it, that will give you dark vision like they have. Finally, you relent and carefully drip the concentrate into each of your eyes. It burns for a moment, then all goes blurry. And suddenly your vision clears. All shadows are pulled away. Gods, you mutter. It's like daylight. Lightning, probably a spell, flashes in the distance. The heightened brightness of the bolt startles you, making you squint. Is it permanent? Only a day or so, says Thelmer. What do you think of that, Agra? I'm collecting powers. Perhaps it's time to track down this gal Megas and give him a proper spanking, you say. Agra ignores your words as she continues to chant. Her voice has a different pitch, a sound of a grating sound that is getting on your nerves. Well, no point in messing about, you say. Take me to Goblin Hunting. We're waiting on a man, says Salma, knight the name of Borin the Worthy, who is supposed to guide us down into the castle and show us where the goblins broke through, though. Can pick him out of the herd, you says Horam. Your kind all look alike. But he ought to be able to pick us out, being the only dwarfs about, says Thelma. That's why we gathered here to stand out. With your new vision, you scan the defenders near the wall. There's Avis running up and down the battlement, urging troops, her sword fiercely glowing. Now the shadows are peeled away. You can see faces much clearer. One face is staring straight at you. One that you had at first thought was a short young man. Now you can see she's actually a girl, a young girl that you recognize as Phobe. Your eyes lock for a moment before Phobe turns and runs, soon disappearing behind a mound of rubble. Relieved as you can see Phobe alive, you can't help but feel a twinge of uneasiness. Agra, shut up with that droning, you think. The girl I must... Your thoughts are chasing after Phobe are interrupted by a deafening roar. Out of the smoke high in the sky, a winged demon dives towards you, specifically towards you. A dark cloud of arrows shoot up from the wall, but most deflected off by the beast's armor. Some sink in. The demon roars something in his horror language. A beam of light bursts up from the wall, nearly blinding you. The ray of light strikes the demon squarely in the chest. The monster falls out of the air. Soldiers scatter just before the mammoth slams into the cobblestone street, splattering blood and stone. Troops from every direction fall upon the beast, hacking with swords and battle axes, and bludgeoning with maces and warhammers. In a fury, the demon rides and somehow manages to stand. His hate-filled eyes are wide and set on you. He begins to charge at you just before the lance of a mounted knight punches through the back of his neck, the tip bursting out of his throat. He falls forward like a tree from a woodsman's axe. The dwarf look at each other and then at you. By Bonder's breath, what? Thelmer's sentence cut off by a sudden rise of snarls and harsh shouts, mostly in unison like a war cry. It's coming from beyond the wall. Don't care for the sound of that. Yeah, that's what he says. Says Horam. Something got them riled up, says Thelmer, frowning at you. His eyes widen as they fix upon your chest. What's that under your lady blouse? Sure enough, your amulet is glowing fiercely, pulsing red through the thin fabric of your nightshirt. Just a trinket, you say, trying to keep your voice casual, and whoever is provoking them would be wise to seize this provocation immediately. You say this last part for Agra. Agra chantes continue louder now. It's getting difficult to think over her droning. Something about her words, although alien to is deeply offensive. There's Borin, shouts Korek, pointing. Several soldiers are stalking your way. Their eyes are set hard upon you. Up on the wall beyond, Avis is also staring at you. Agra, whatever you're doing, it's upsetting monsters and the people. If you say, as your champion, I order you to halt this madness. What in the nine hells is that? Shouts one of the dwarves. Beyond the wall, a clothed figure has soared up high and is now hovering. The hood is down, displaying a white skull. Even from here, you recognize that thing. Lich, you whisper. Can't be, says Thalmor, terror in his voice. There haven't been one in these parts since. His sentence cuts off as a fresh flurry of arrows sail up towards the Lich and shatter against the invisible shield. Another ray of bright light blasts from Avis's sword. The shield around the Lich flickers and makes a sizzling noise so loud that you can hear it clearly over the sound of war. Still, Avis's beam dissipates. The Lich does not even notice the attacks, only continues to hover, his skeleton mouth in a permanent grin. Slowly turns his head, surveying the line before him, as though the gleaming soldiers below were all nothing but vermin. Even as more arrows and bolts smash against his shield, importantly, Borin the Worthy, shouts Thalmor, pointing at the oncoming soldiers. Just in time, let us make haste to the castle and see about those goblins. None of the approaching soldiers respond. Their eyes remain fixed on you. There is something familiar about the cold expression, a coldness reptilian. A coldness reptilian. Recognize one of the soldiers towards the back of them. It's the one that had been glaring at you earlier, just before you spoke to Maiden Avis. Your decreases too, slaves of Thog, show yourself, you shout. However, these are not your words. Egra, there's a punch out from your body, expelling of power. Suddenly the bodies of the handful of approaching soldiers fall away to reveal priestesses of Thog. Bald women, covered in elaborate piercing. Bonder's hairy R shouts one of the dwarves. The nearest priestess screams and rays as she charges. A sister follow the shrill of battle, screams of their own. Tentacles erupt from the flank of the lead priestess. Draw your sword, which glows brightly. Thalmor and Horum heft their axes. Heft as in like throw their axes or like pull out their axes. I don't know. I think it is throw their axes. In your peripheral vision, you see the other dwarves springing into action, yet they are too far away to lend aid before the priestess reaches you. The enemies only about a second away. You don't have time to transform. You dare not threaten. Only leave the short-legged. Did not retreat. Only leave the short-legged dwarves to fend for themselves. Well, cast slippery spell. You direct the slippery spell on the ground beneath the charging priestess. The lead priestess's feet whip behind her, face planting onto the ground. Thanks to her forward momentum, begin sliding towards you. The other fall too and begin their own rides. You advance your sword and swiftly advance. As the lead priestess slides, she flips over onto her back and whips her tentacles at you. Disadvantaged as she is, the attack is poorly aimed. You easily parry the tentacles and slice through the spongy muscle, spraying yourself with warm gore blood. The priestess opens her mouth wide and screams, then abruptly stops her slide about a meter ahead of you, having no doubt reached the end of the slippery zone. You lunge as the priestess scrambles and slips, attempting to get to her feet. You bury a blade in her chest, splitting her wide open and silencing her scream. Another priestess tentacle whips at you. However, Thalmor's battle axe interrupts it, spraying you with even more gore. At least it's not acid gore. The other priestess slide up beside their dead leader. By the time you've wrenched your blade free from the priestess' body, the dwarves had hacked the others to death. How many fiends are disguised among our ranks, says Thalmor, as he flicks blood from his battle axe, stares out among the soldiers near the wall. A few of these soldiers are staring over at your party. However, the most attention is fixed above in the sky upon the hovering Lich that is slowly advancing as the arrows continue to deflect from his shield. The other dwarves are nearby now. Bonder's belt. You didn't leave any for us, shouts one dwarf. Thalmor says something in what must be dwarven tongue to the others. A few dwarves laugh. He switches to common tongue. Cowardly trick, pretending to be our allies. His eyes now scan over the defending soldiers. But what were those creatures? Asked Horum. Priestesses of Thog, you say, now sent to oblivion with their master where they belong. Also, I fear your guide may be slain. You shall not escape your fate, comes a whisper as though directly in your ear. You know that thing, says Thalmor, pointing his battle axe at the oncoming Lich. It's looking right at you, says Horum. From the wall, rising above the din, comes a clear, powerful voice. Return to the abyss. Maiden Avis climbs onto the top of the battlement, raises a massive sword. Her weapon explodes in light. The shield around the Lich crackles violently, and the Lich is thrown several meters, although he says aloft. The Lich rips his red dot eyes from you and looks down at Avis. He raises his bone hand and you feel the hair on your arm stand up. Crack, crack, crack. Mighty dark bolts. Oh, he's Galmagus' individual. Definitely. Dark bolts are used by Galmagus. We know that because we died at his hand once. I have no favor, by the way. I just realized that. Mighty dark bolts burst out from the Lich's outstretched hands, slamming into the holy radiance of Avis, exploding into black tendrils that are immediately swallowed by the holy light. Some of these bolts are aimed at you, yet they are also swallowed. Other bolts strike along the wall, some of them deflected by Alethea's favor, yet further from Avis the wall must be less protected because the bolts that strike there blast large swords of wall, sending men and rubble through the air. A great wail of horrid voices rise up from beyond the wall, along with the thunderous beating of mighty war drums. Now, with your night vision keen, you see demons and beasts of all sizes rushing towards the fresh gaping holes in the wall. Great weight of steel and slathering mouths and blood-splattered bodies. Arrows rain down upon them, but those few that fall are slimly trampled over by their bloodthirsty charge. With the wall breached and the soldiers near Avis in disarray, demons will pour on sides of our line, flank the main body of the defenders. Champion, let us join humanity's stand, says Agra gleefully. We shall tip the scales to balance. Our enemies shall smash each other apart. Enemies, you say. Aletheia may be your enemy, but the Duke's men fly under the same banner. Nevertheless, says Agra, cutting you off. Nevertheless, I shall not force you to smite your own kind. Tell Agra, how shall we aid your doomed people? The dwarves seem to have something in mind. Thalmor and Horam has joined with the other dwarves, and they're forming a tortoise configuration with the shields. You were trained to form a shield wall in your time with Wellington's army, yet you did not use this particular configuration. Nevertheless, you could attempt to join the dwarves. Another option would be to transform into something large, to punch into the demonic horde. Perhaps a giant or maybe a large illusion to distract your enemy would be better. Finally, you could use your slippery spell. By the way, last time I was recording, for some reason, the video did not come out. It was literally 3 frames a second, so I just deleted the video and just put in some screenshots over my audio. Hopefully this time that does not happen. Well, I don't have much favor left, so might as well use the slippery spell at this point. I mean, what's that going to do? There's a couple of them will slip, but let's just join the dwarves. Allow me to join your ranks, you shout. The younger looking dwarf scowls at you. Fuzzbeard doesn't know a thing. The boy wants to die among dwarves, says another. Let him in the center, commands Thalmor. The dwarves open their shields and you press your way through. They smell like smoke and something akin to human body odor mixed with dirt. Now you're within a ring of dwarves. Yet thanks to your height, able to see up well above them, they advance. A beard is nuzzled against your bare elbow where there's a rip in your feminine nightshirt. Someone grunts with what sounds like a curse as they jostle you. Soon you get into the rhythm of their march. It is like you're wearing a massive bell-shaped dress made of armored dwarves. You could smile at this thought, if not for the terrible sight before you. The demons spill through the holes in the wall. They pause to eviscerate the wounded soldiers that have been thrown by the Lich's devastating attack. They're so intent on their slaughter, they are likely missing an opportunity to press their advantage on the forces under Maiden Avis's command, who are currently struggling to form new battle lines. You unsling your bow, notch an arrow, and shoot an Orthrax demon who is busy bashing in the helves of one poor fellow. The arrow sticks into the demon's side, enraging the monster. This leaves the wounded soldier charges at your party. You shoot him in the chest just before one of the dwarves' spear punch into him, the turtle wall. Still, the demon pushes through, slams into your skirt of dwarves. Despite the size and ferocity of the demon, the dwarves hold their ranks. The demon finally falls as battle axes hew away at his legs. You shoot another demon, a smaller one, like the Orthrax. This wounded demon charges you in rage, only to be hewed down by the dwarves defending you. Stupid thugs, laughs Agra. I think we have a new tactic, one dwarf bellows. Several mounted soldiers slam into the oncoming horde, skewering demons with their lances. However, the combat becomes chaotic as your bow-wielding turtle configuration enters into a thick of the melee and the demons surge around you, attacking from all sides. Now you wish you could had a whole squadron of archers. You could probably swing an axe or something, sword or something. There's a terrible stabbing pain in your back. Twist away to see a demon wielding a long pike, blood dripping from the tip, your blood. The demon pulls back, preparing to stab again. You duck down into your armored shell. The dwarves surge in the direction of the demon. You stumble, crouch along with them. You poke your head up in time to see the pike demons fall before the axes and spears of the dwarves. The Duke's foot soldiers slam into the demons, most of them shoulder to shoulder, holding the ranks. The dwarves maneuver to strike, the demons from the side working with the soldiers to crush the enemy like pincer. Thalmor is shouting commands in their language, and the dwarves are moving like a massive, jiggling animal of one mind. Crack, crack, crack. Dark bolts from the Lich rain down below, up from above, smashing more of the wall. Line of soldiers, even cutting into the demons. Someone's severed hand flies past you. One bolt had come to your party, but that one never reaches you. Rather, it winks out. More demons surge around the breach. Yeah, they didn't want to kill us, so the Lich is probably not aiming at us that hard. More demons surge through the breach in the wall. You fire a shot into the horde, but that's a joke, like spitting at a tsunami. Thalmor shouts, feel the same way. He shouts to the castle. The dwarves break rank and scatter into full retreat. You follow behind, slinging your bow, drawing your sword, covering the dwarves from a demon who breaks away from the main fray to pursue your party. This demon is armored only with long claws, which would give him an advantage in close fight, but your longer weapon strikes first, cleaving deep into his horned skull, spattering foul blood and dropping the monster.